At last, finally thought to turn my camera the other way around to give us a more panoramic view of things. And when we're talking about addiction, this is for Christina and for everybody, panorama is important. Firstly, addiction is intrinsic to being alive. All nature addicts itself to its own forms. So like a flower addicts itself to the shape of being a flower. We addict ourselves to the set of coordinates that we've set up to in which to kind of frame the story that we're telling ourselves. So none of us really exist as we think we do. We're collections of thought habits, thoughts that addict themselves into a shape. So addiction in itself is not a bad thing. Secondly, when we're looking at the substances we tend to addict ourselves to, they are generally poison. And poison isn't necessarily bad. In fact, it's quite clear from its use that we need poison to some extent. It's like the thing that gives it all a bit of grit, otherwise it becomes a bit too blancmange. And it's just how much of the poison you use. And it starts with, I mean, it develops from a compact you make with yourself and with the poison. Some kind of agreement that you set up at a certain point in your life that you will devote yourself to the intake of this poison, come what may, to the level that you've decided you're going to do it. And therefore begin, I would suggest, by examining the compact, examining the contract you've made and changing it. You are allowed to change the contract. So for example, say it was, I don't drink anymore. I used to love single malt whiskey, and I changed the compact with myself that from now on I'm no longer obliged to continue using that medicine because I was overusing it and it was poisoning me. And instead, I contract with myself to find the warmth that I felt in my chest and the increase of self-confidence that gave me, and the love that I feel for everyone around me, the increase of that, I would access that naturally from within, because obviously these were qualities I could find within me. So whatever your the poison or poisons that you're addicting yourself to, look at the contract, change the contract, and change it to one where you will either completely replace that stimulus to get the desired effect, or reduce the amount you use it to get that effect and rely on accessing the effect from within you naturally, just by will, because we can. It takes a little bit of practice. It's not as physically spectacular. There's not like a sudden shift of feeling like you get when you drink or take drugs or do whatever. But over time, which is what counts, develops the feeling that you've been looking for all the time in the substance. Native American style is to talk to the spirit of the substance and pray to it to release you. That's, anthropomorphizing things, which works. It depends on your mood at the time. The other thing that the Taoists suggest, and again, look, this is not trying to answer the question in one, it's a huge subject, and there's no glib response to it, that would satisfy, and I wouldn't trust one that did arise either, is that you only have so much time and mental focus in any given day. The more of it you devote to healthy addictions, the less of it you'll have available to devote to the unhealthy addictions. So for example, if you were to do Tai Chi or Qigong or meditation or yoga or something that would change your state naturally as a daily discipline, at least for the time you were doing that, and maybe for a short while afterwards, and maybe even for a little while before, you wouldn't be inclined to indulge the other addiction as much. And over time, the balance changes. And at the very least, you, by doing something constructive like that, you're at least strengthening yourself to offset the pernicious effects of whatever poison you're taking. Right now, though, if I was going to be looking at dropping an addiction, I think I would start by talking to the spirit of that substance and having a proper good conversation and negotiating an exit or a change of levels of use. Let's talk about this more over time. You let me know how that resonated, if at all. Okay, and toodle bit.